Hey, this is Mark Henry, author of Dancing with Energy, Healing Magic, and Mysticism, here to talk to you more about the occult and the paranormal. Well, today I'm going to be talking about another paranormal case. I say another because I went over the file of Chris Case not too long ago. So it seemed to be a video that people were interested in, so I said, well, why don't we go ahead and do another one? We will go for a really extreme paranormal case, one of the more extreme ever recorded. So let's begin. But before that, let me remind you, because I mentioned this in my live chat, that Etsy convinced me to actually to lower my prices in my store, kind of a holiday sale. So everything is 20% off. So if you were interested in getting an attunement, a spiritual connection with a spirit to level up your magic and self-development, then feel free to check it out and favorite the store if you like. We have people that are really making some changes and doing some wonderful things. So I'll put a link about that in the description. And also, if you want to learn more about attunements, I also have a Facebook group that I'll put that link in there too if you want to ask questions or discuss things. We have people who share. So we'll do that. Okay, so let's get in today's video. So this video was kind of a story that was popularized in the movie titled The Entity. The Entity came out as a film in 1983. It was written by Frank DeFelitta in 1978. The movie documents the story of a family who was living in Culver City, California in 1974. Doris Bither was the woman's name, and her 4 children. She was living there with her kids in a house that I imagine was in disrepair because the house had been condemned twice. So she was actually staying there illegally. Single mom, and she was just doing what we all do, trying to make ends meet, trying to survive, and doing the best she can. So in the summer of 1974, she just got out of the bath, and then she went into her bedroom and lay down, getting ready to go to sleep. But she was awake, and all of a sudden, there was a door to her bedroom slammed, and she felt something overtake her, and she couldn't move. She was paralyzed. And as she was trying to figure out what was going on, she looked around and there was nobody there. There was nobody physically restraining her, but yet she was restrained. And she felt herself being touched. She felt herself being penetrated, and she couldn't do anything about it. So when she tried her best to struggle and she yelled, her kids came around, and then all of a sudden it stopped. And of course, she was going out of her mind, because what is this that just happened? She knew, but it was not something that she wanted to tell her kids. So she ran out of the house, tried to calm down, and couldn't make sense of it all. So this particular traumatic experience happened to her for the next few weeks, along with other things. All of a sudden, this phenomena just started. These rapes continued for a few weeks. There was other types of physical assaults. She and her kids were scratched, bitten, pushed, pulled, and it was the worst type of phenomena that you can imagine as far as what what a paranormal experience can be. So this went on. There's also lights, which you would see like orb lights, and they would be a lot of times green that would come. And they have photographic evidence of this when the parapsychologist came. She eventually, this was very hard for her to talk about because she didn't know whether she was going crazy or whether who she should talk to about this thing that's happening to her and her children. So she happened to be in a bookstore and she overheard a conversation, kind of a synchronistic event. And there happened to be two men there who were parapsychologists. They were talking about psychic phenomena. They were talking about ghosts. They were talking about all the different things that go into studying this sort of thing. So their names was Barry Taff and Kerry Gaynor. So they had a discussion, and she said, "Hey, this is what's happening to me. What do you suggest?" So they went over to her house, and went there, talked for a few hours, and all of a sudden, things were shaking. The mirrors were shaking. She reported to them that dishes and things would start to come out of the cupboards randomly and break. It was, what can I say? It was very disturbing. It was very mentally distressing to everyone involved. So the two parapsychologists, by the way, they were from UCLA. They worked in the parapsychology lab, so they were the real deal. So they went in there, and they brought about 20 other people who were operating cameras. They were really doing everything that they could at that time to figure out whether this was some type of natural phenomena or whether this was honestly something paranormal. So they would do things like black out all of the windows with black poster board and tape everything up to try to see whether they can photograph this light and how it moves and whether it conforms to the walls, and doing all these other types of things. And they would get her to provoke this particular thing to activate, to do things. So she would get mad and curse at it and do all these sorts of things to try to make it just show itself, whatever it was. So they engaged in a 10-week paranormal investigation of Doris's house. They showed a lot of times the orbs, like I said, they would look green. At one point, everybody, the parapsychologists and all of the workers, saw the green orb actually form into a human torso with a head and a chest, and then it would dissipate. But this was kind of par for the course. They witnessed a lot of different phenomena, and they got some of it on film. So I guess what happened to them after the 10 weeks, they moved to Carson, California. So they moved away from that particular house, hoping that things would stop. But it was reported that things started up again a couple weeks after they moved. And supposedly that phenomena started in some of the adjacent houses. The neighbors were reporting things going on with their houses, things falling, things out of place. It was just almost like it kind of had a scatter effect. So what do y'all make of this particular case? Some personal details which I found interesting, which may or may not have anything to do with this particular case, When the parapsychologist came and they interviewed Doris, it came out that one, that she was a heavy drinker. Two, when she was younger and as an adult, she was a subject of physical abuse. I thought sexual abuse, but I'm not 100% sure about that when I was doing my research on this. So, as I say that, we kind of have to look at, okay, so was this poltergeist? Was this a haunting? Because it has features of both of them. So when we talk about poltergeist, that it obviously has some poltergeist elements, because you have, well, poltergeist is German, it means noisy ghost. So you have the breaking of things, the destruction. You have, at one point, and I'm not sure if this is still a theory about poltergeist, but there was a connection at one point between poltergeist phenomena and an adolescent in the house, like a teenager. And there was a teenager in the house at this time. Why a teenager? Well, the theory is that at that stage of life, their body is changing, their hormones are being activated, their mind is opening up, and they're able to somehow unconsciously create this phenomena through their emotions. So there is the poltergeist element of it. But then again, you have the whatever it was turn into a shape, like it was a spirit, which would be more like a haunting, an apparition. So it has the features of both. Now, what I was, one more thing before I conclude. The son, Brian, said that when, and I believe that he was the oldest, he was the teenager. What I remember reading is that when he played Black Sabbath, that it actually, the phenomena in the house actually got worse. And that kind of lends itself to poltergeist, because somehow that it was feeding off this negative energy. Well, I don't say negative, I mean, it's like this kind of this force coming from the music, which is probably a little dark and maybe a little angry. One thing I failed to mention too is that when we were talking about earlier, when Doris claims to have been sexually assaulted, that there was evidence bearing out that this happened, because there was like bruising and scarring and stuff on her thighs, like there was some type of force applied in order to make this happen to her legs. So what do y'all think? Third possibility, and this came to mind when I was looking at it, was that if we were to look at more of the spirit type of cause, I don't know about this house, that they say it was condemned twice. It might not have been in good shape. I thought of the jinn. I've talked about that in past videos, about the jinn traditionally residing in dark, unclean, impure places. Legend says that it's bathrooms, caves, abandoned houses. It made me think of that, because the jinn are a type of spirit that they're shapeshifters. They could, as a spirit, take whatever form they want, and also they can create physical phenomena easily. They're one of those really powerful spirits. So and they're trickster spirits, and they can mess with people if they want. So it doesn't. So this kind of lines up with that too. So there are a lot of different possibilities with this particular case, but I want to know what you all think. Okay. Well, again, thanks for watching this video. I'm going to put the links in the description to the Etsy store sale and the Facebook group. And I will talk to you all in a future video. Thanks so much. Take care.